Well, welcome back to All Day Live. I'm Amy Hawkert. We're glad you're with us. We're just rolling over into the 1 o'clock hour here, 1:06. And we wanted to do a big interview today, a deep dive interview on something that is very much in the headlines right now. And then there's another layer that was added in today. So a researcher, a professor, a doctor, epidemiologist from the University of Minnesota really sort of became a household name during COVID. And he is now it looks like spearheading this effort, an independently funded effort, and it all revolves around vaccines. So joining me now is the director of the University of Minnesota Center for Infectious Disease Research and Policy, Dr. Michael Osterholm. Thank you for joining us, Doctor.
Thank you for having me.
Sure. So you shared a pretty big announcement today, the creation of the Vaccine Integrity Project. So first of all, can you explain to our viewers what this is?
Well, I think we're all well aware that we've had real challenges over the course of the past few months in terms of messaging about the importance of vaccines, their safety, and how we surely, if we don't use them, we're going to expect to see ever increasing numbers of infectious disease outbreaks, including serious illness and deaths. And when the public doesn't have a reliable source of information, where are they going to go to get it? And right now, our federal agencies are surely limited in what kind of information they're providing. They've also provided misinformation about these vaccines. And so this is really an effort by a whole group of national and international experts on vaccine and public health to come together and to understand what is it that we can do to help, in a sense, substitute the information that is often prevalent from our federal government in particular to that of the rest of the country. And so we're really going to start out, first of all, by holding a series of 8 focus groups with individuals across the entire vaccine enterprise, everybody from those who first make the vaccines to those that deliver them, and everyone in between, to understand what is it that they need, what are they lacking. What happens if, in fact, the messages about how well the vaccines work is actually misrepresented? And what can we do about that? So our first goal is to really understand what's needed and necessary. Our goal would be never to be needed or necessary, but as we can tell, this is not where we're at right now. So that's our first goal. And then from there, by midsummer, we will come forward after these 8 major focus groups and come forward with a formal program or a decision on what can and should be done.
Okay, so yeah, we want to try to break that down just a little bit. So will what the public sees be more kind of reactive? Let's say RFK Jr. says something, and you're saying, "Whoa, that's not correct," and then you'll come back with some sort of response, or are you proactively going to be putting out, your own recommendations?
Well, first of all, we cannot be what the Advisory Committee Immunization Practices is. That's the independent body that advises the CDC about how to use vaccines and what vaccines should be used. And so we can't do that. We don't have that legal standing. And frankly, we want to see the ACIP be strong and independent. We're very concerned about that. Secretary Kennedy has already said on multiple occasions that 97% of the people who make up the members of the advisory committee are conflicted, which is not true, but nonetheless it leaves the public wondering, wait a minute, can I believe this information? In addition to that, we are very concerned that members of that committee will be replaced, and they will be replaced with people who have basically mis and disinformation as their primary means of sharing information about vaccines. We saw recently, as you know, that Secretary Kennedy actually appointed someone who has no expertise or experience to review measles vaccines for a potential cause of autism. Well, that ship sailed a long time ago. We have asked and answered that one on multiple occasions over the years. Measles vaccine does not cause autism. The fact that they're going back and looking at it again gives the public the sense that, well, maybe there is something there to this, okay? And so our job is going to be making certain that the record reflects the science, and that we're not here to promote anything other than the best science we can. And it's all about, again, protecting our loved ones from these diseases that vaccines do such a good job of protecting us from.
Dr. Osterholm, I think some people might say, well, there's the messaging piece of this, which you've talked about, and then there is, what you're saying is the misinformation piece of this. So, how much of this, I guess what I'm trying to ask is there anything that is being said or done at the federal level right now, sort of under RFK Jr., that you would look at and go, okay, this does make sense, or this, are we throwing the baby out with the bathwater here?
Well, first of all, I think it's really important to understand that much of the information that we count on for vaccinations is at the whim of the federal government if it'll be available. For example, we had a website that was really the compendium of all the information that we count on for dealing with COVID. And it was a very comprehensive and very thoughtful CDC website. 2 weeks ago, that was taken down, and instead a substitute website was put up with the very same address, talking about why Wuhan and the release of this virus from the lab was the cause of the pandemic. That's not what the public was looking for when they wanted comprehensive information on COVID. So it's not just the fact that they may come out with misinformation, but just limiting the information that already exists that we use all the time is a real challenge. I want to just give you an example also. Recently, a group of state legislators here in Minnesota in the House of Representatives actually introduced a bill that would declare that mRNA technology, the kind of technology used in the new vaccines, is actually a weapon of mass destruction and would be charged with a crime for promoting or using these vaccines. Wow. I mean, that is so far out there. It's not just the fact that these are important vaccines that have saved many millions of lives, but now the idea of using it is grounds for criminal activity. I think our job is to then provide the kind of scientific-based information so that the public can decide, well, why would these people submit a bill to the State House of such almost unbelievable terms when it's not there? So that's what we see ourselves as doing. We may very well generate our own data on safety. We'll be looking at that very carefully. If data are not being routinely collected anymore to look at safety, we want to be sure that there is that kind of information. Vaccine safety to us is sacred. And so that I think, again, when we get done with these focus groups, we'll have a much better handle on what it is that can and should be done.
You mentioned COVID, and a lot of people will remember your name. You became almost practically a household name during those years. In the wake of that and during that, you weathered some personal attacks during that time. The nickname of Dr. Doom came up because of your predictions about diseases that were so dire. Some might look at this and say, well, is this Dr. Michael Osterholm being a Dr. Doom? Is he sort of taking that and plugging it into this scenario with vaccines? How would you respond to that?
Well, first of all, let me just set the track record straight. It was me that in February of 2020 said that this pandemic could very well last for the next 3 years or more, and that up to 800,000 people could die. That's 18 months later. 18 months later, we hit our 800,000th death in this country. So I think that if you look at my track record for prediction on the COVID pandemic, it's been pretty much right on the mark, right from the beginning. And so, I'll just let my 50 years of public health practice speak for itself. People can find, situations where I've been in error or have overstated or misstated the risk of a disease, bring it on. But in the meantime, my job is to tell the truth. It's to basically provide the kind of information that people can act upon. And that's exactly what this particular project is all about. To paraphrase the old Dragnet program with Joe Friday, just the facts, ma'am, just the facts. And that's what we're trying to do.
I wanted to ask you, if you don't mind, about, obviously, you've probably been asked a lot lately about vaccines and autism. It is in conversations with families everywhere who are directly impacted by this. And I've heard from both, and I've had a lot of extended conversations with folks who are sort of disgusted with what they're seeing at the federal level and the comments that have been made. And then I hear from families who say, we finally feel seen and heard, and someone is taking a look at this for the first time seriously, trying to get to whether or not there is that link between vaccines and autism. Can you speak to, I guess, both of those groups of people? What do you have to say?
Yeah, unfortunately, your voice died out throughout that, so I'm not sure I heard all the questions. So anything you could do to
I will repeat. Yes.
There you go. Okay, thank you.
Can hear me.
That's a lot better
Okay.
now. Thank you.
I just wanted to, I guess, ask a question on behalf of two different groups of people who have, family members with autism. Just in having conversations with people, some of them say, "Wow, we're disgusted by what's happening at the federal level right now." Others have said, "We feel seen, and we feel like someone is finally trying to get to the bottom of whether or not there's this deeper link." What would you say to them?
Well, first of all, there is a great body of research that's been done on autism over the past 20 years. And that body exists separate from this. And I think if you heard anything when Secretary Kennedy spoke up about autism a week ago, there were many groups from the autism community that spoke back and said how, unfortunately, he misrepresented the facts about what was happening with autism, the cause and effect. Autism is a real condition. It's a very significant condition. Nobody's minimizing that. But you don't end up responding to it by finding just something that may be a cause of it. You have to find the thing that's causing it. And so there has been exhaustive studies looking at vaccines. And that simply is not the cause of what's causing autism in terms of that. There are data to support the fact that autism and the potential for it to happen may occur even in utero, and the fact that it's even before vaccines are even around that child. What are the issues that come to play here? I'm not an expert in autism, other than I surely understand when studies are done about autism, are they well done? Are they solid scientific studies? And that's what we're talking about, is the fact that the science has spoken. And in this case, it's very clear and compelling that autism is not caused by vaccines. We still have a lot of work to do to find out why it's caused and what can be done. But at the same time, those things we rule out, we want to make certain that we don't spend our time going back over and over and over those again when we need to invest in really the kinds of studies that give us a much better sense of what's happening.
Dr. Osterholm, is this a personal mission for you? And if so, how much emotion goes into this for you, or is it all just the facts, ma'am?
Well, my whole career has obviously been driven by a purpose. And, after 50 years, I can say that it surely comes down to me to a few things, but the most important thing, sitting here on my desk right now, is an electronic picture frame. And every few seconds, another picture of one of my grandkids comes by. And so I don't need a lot of motivation to know that the world we're leaving our kids and grandkids right now is suffering miserably. And for me, it's easy to stay engaged, to not retire. And if you want to call that emotional, call it that. I like to call it for purpose. And if I can do anything to make this a better place for my grandkids, I don't have any more important thing to do than that.
All right. Thank you for your time today, Dr. Michael Osterholm. We appreciate you sharing this announcement, and look forward to learning more and seeing how this evolves, possibly more collaborations, medical associations, things like that as it evolves. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
All right.